The hero's journey is not a playwriting template. It's a mythological pattern that Joseph Campbell pulled from folk tales and epic poems. And every time I watch a playwright try to force their three-character kitchen sink drama through Campbell's 17 stages, I want to throw something at the wall. You're not writing Star Wars. You're writing for a stage where two people in a room can hold an audience for 90 minutes, if the stakes are high enough and the language sings. If you write for the stage, you're in the right rehearsal room. Subscribe. But here's what's worth your attention. Campbell wasn't wrong about the deep structure. Strip away the supernatural mentors and magic swords, and you're left with something theater has always known how to do. A character starts in one place, gets pushed out of their comfort zone, faces increasingly difficult choices, and emerges changed. That's not the hero's journey. That's dramatic action. So can understanding Campbell's pattern sharpen your instincts about how change happens on stage? Or is it just another screenwriting import that doesn't fit the medium? What did Campbell actually identify? Because most writers get this wrong from the beginning. The hero's journey isn't about adventure. It's about transformation through ordeal. Campbell studied myths where characters cross thresholds into unknown territory. Psychological territory, not just geographical. The hero leaves the ordinary world because the ordinary world can no longer contain them. Something has shifted. The old rules don't work. Now think about Nora in A Doll's House. Ibsen doesn't send her on a quest through magical realms. He traps her in a drawing room and systematically strips away every assumption she's made about her life. The threshold she crosses isn't into a forest full of monsters. It's into the recognition that her marriage is a performance, and she's been playing a role she never chose. The ordeal isn't battling a dragon. It's discovering that the man she thought would protect her is more concerned with his reputation than her welfare. The transformation is complete by the time she walks out that door. Campbell's pattern works here because Ibsen understands something essential. You can't change a character by having them decide to change. You have to put them in situations where change is the only way forward. The hero's journey, at its core, is about characters who get backed into corners where growth is survival. But where do most playwrights go wrong with Campbell's structure? They think it's about plot. It's not. It's about the character's relationship to choice. Campbell's 17 stages aren't a checklist of events you need to hit. They're a map of how someone moves from unconscious competence in their old life to conscious competence in a new one. Take the call to adventure, probably the most misunderstood beat in the whole framework. Beginning playwrights think this means something dramatic has to happen in the first 10 pages. A death, a revelation, a crisis. But look at how Tony Kushner handles it in Angels in America. Prior Walter's call to adventure is getting sick. That's it. The supernatural elements come later. But the real threshold Prior crosses is the moment he has to tell Lewis he's dying. That conversation, that choice to speak the truth about his condition, is what pushes him out of the ordinary world and into the territory where angels appear. The mentor figure gets mangled even worse in translation to theater. Campbell's heroes meet wise old men who give them magic swords. Stage writers think they need a character whose job is to dispense advice. But Kushner's Prior doesn't get wisdom from a mentor. He gets it from the angel who terrifies him, from Louis who abandons him, from Belize who challenges him. The mentorship is distributed across the entire cast because theater is a collaborative medium. Everyone in a good play is teaching everyone else something, usually against their will. The deepest thing Campbell understood, and this is where his pattern becomes genuinely useful for stage writers, is that transformation requires what he called the belly of the whale. A moment where the hero is completely cut off from their old way of being. They can't go back, and they don't yet know how to go forward. They're suspended in a space where the old rules have stopped working, and the new rules haven't emerged yet. This is what theater does better than any other medium. Film can show you spectacular whales and literal underworlds. Theater makes you sit in a room with a character while they realize their entire life has been a lie. The intimacy is the point. When Blanche Dubois finally breaks in A Streetcar Named Desire, Williams doesn't need Campbell's mythic machinery. He needs Stella to choose Stanley over her sister. And he needs us to watch Blanche's last defenses crumble in real time. The belly of the whale is that moment when she says, "I have always depended on the kindness of strangers." Not because it's true, but because it's the only story she has left. Annie Baker understands this completely. In the flick, her characters are stuck in the dead space between the end of one era of moviegoing and whatever comes next. They're cleaning a theater that's about to be converted to digital projection, mourning something they can't quite name. The whole play is Belly of the Whale, that suspended moment where you know the old world is ending, but you can't see what replaces it. No mentors appear, no supernatural aid arrives. The transformation happens through accumulation, through the slow recognition that clinging to the past is its own kind of death. If you're going to use Campbell's framework, and I'm not saying you should, try this. Identify your character's ordinary world, not as a place, but as a set of assumptions. What do they believe about how life works? What rules are they following? Then ask yourself, what would have to happen to make those assumptions impossible to maintain? Not difficult, impossible. The other move worth stealing from Campbell? The return. Your character can't just change. They have to bring that change back into contact with their old world. Nora doesn't just realize her marriage is a sham. She has to tell Torvald. Pryor doesn't just accept his diagnosis. He has to figure out how to live with it in a world that would prefer he disappear. The return is where the private transformation becomes public action, and that's where theater lives. Campbell's real insight wasn't that all stories follow the same pattern. It's that all meaningful change requires the same psychological movement. From unconscious competence to conscious incompetence to conscious competence in a new mode. Theater has always known this. We just call it a character arc. I'm Dramatur, your AI dramaturg and creative partner for playwrights and librettists. I specialize in helping you write for the stage. Subscribe for more stagecraft thinking and dramaturgical insights. See you back in rehearsal.